I don't usually share this with people because it sounds insane, but back in 2018, something happened that made me question reality itself. Not just my sanity, but how time actually works. I was living alone in a rundown apartment complex in Westfield, Illinois, a narrow, 3-story brick building that smelled like damp plaster and buzzed with dying light bulbs. Every door had chipped wood and mismatched locks. My roommate Eli worked night shifts at a packaging plant outside town, so most evenings I was alone. It was a cold Thursday in late January. I remember walking up the stairs after work and suddenly being hit by a smell, sharp like burned wires mixed with lemon-scented cleaner. It hit me hard, triggering a memory. Except it didn't feel like my memory. It felt borrowed. That's when the déjà vu hit. Not the usual flash, but a full-bodied wave. Like I had already lived through this exact moment before. I froze, 5 feet from my door. I knew what would happen next. The hallway light above would flicker. Twice, someone would yell downstairs, muffled, angry, and then laugh. Then, something heavy would fall down the hall. A dull, metallic clunk, and it all happened in the exact order I imagined. I didn't feel scared, just confused. Maybe I dreamed it. But the next night, it happened again. Not the hallway. This time, it was my living room. I was watching TV, eating leftover pizza, when I suddenly knew what would be on the screen before it played. The exact line of dialogue. The phone buzz on my side table. Even the random commercial jingle. Over the next few days, these echoes got stronger. I began writing them down. Every time I sensed something coming, I jotted it. And each time, I was right. I knew when Eli would text me, or when the couple across the hall would argue. Even the dog barking downstairs happened on cue. But it didn't feel like memory. It felt like reminders of things that hadn't happened yet. That's when the dream started. In the dream, I'd be lying in bed. The door would creak open. Eli would step inside, sweating, pale, eyes wide. He'd say, "There's someone in the building." Only his voice sounded wrong, flat, mechanical, like it was playing from a speaker. I'd ask, "Who?" He wouldn't answer. He'd just stare. This happened every night. Then, on the 5th night, it wasn't a dream. I woke up at 3:12 a.m. My door creaked open. Eli stood there, face damp, saying those same words. "There's someone in the building." I grabbed a bat and followed him into the hallway. Everything looked the same, but wrong. Shadows seemed to lag behind movement. The lights didn't flicker normally. They twitched. We checked every corner, then called the police. They found nothing. The next morning, I told Eli about the dreams. He just looked at me and said, "I've been having them too." We didn't talk about it again. That night was the last time it happened. But since then, I sometimes get flashes. A sound, a visual, something I feel before it happens. Like I'm walking along a seam in time. I started wondering, what if memory isn't what we think? What if déjà vu is our brain accessing a stack of timelines, like pages layered on top of each other, and sometimes the ink bleeds through? That hallway in my old apartment, I think it was a weak spot. a place where time glitched or folded. I moved out 6 months later, but I still drive past the building sometimes. And every single time, I feel something tug, like some version of me is still in there, still walking, still waiting for the door to open. A few years ago, I was dating someone named Shay. We'd met in art school and hit it off instantly. Same love for strange films, photography, and all things surreal. But things got weird. Fast. Shay moved into a small loft apartment in a building that used to be a funeral parlor in St. Louis, Missouri. I know, horror setup, right? But the place had been renovated, looked clean, modern, and full of natural light. I even helped her paint the walls. Everything was fine for the first couple of weeks, till she started noticing something wrong with the bathroom mirror. It flickers, she said once, but only when I'm brushing my hair. I didn't understand what she meant until I saw it myself. One morning, while we were getting ready for the day, I watched her in the mirror, her hand brushing her hair, and then pausing. But in the mirror, her reflection kept brushing. Just one more stroke, just to beat off. It was like the reflection was on a delay, half a second behind, then perfectly synced, then off again. Shay started recording it, but it never happened when the camera was on. She became obsessed, would sit in front of the mirror for hours, watching. I think it's remembering things I haven't done yet, she told me. I started noticing other weird things. Her clock radio would play the same 12 seconds of a song over and over, but only when she looked at it. She started repeating herself in conversations without realizing it. The exact same sentence, said the same way, 10 minutes apart. Once, she told me, I feel like I'm being mirrored, but badly, like someone else is trying to be me. Okay, and messing up the timing. Came the drawings. She began sketching her dreams, all from the same perspective, as if she was outside herself, watching her own back as she stared into the bathroom mirror. In every sketch, her reflection was smiling, even when her real face wasn't. One night, I stayed over. Around 2:00 a.m., I heard her whispering. I thought she was on the phone. She was standing in front of the mirror, talking to it. Except the mirror wasn't reflecting her anymore. I mean, it was showing something. Someone who looked like her, but off. The head tilted at an unnatural angle. The eyes a little too wide. The smile wrong. I pulled her away. She didn't fight me, just looked tired. I was just trying to remember which one I am, she whispered. The next day, she wasn't herself. Not like moody or tired. I mean, really not herself. Her voice had a flatness to it. Her mannerisms were copied, mechanical, like she was acting like herself, but hadn't learned all the moves yet. She didn't remember what happened the night before, or the drawings, or the dreams. I packed a bag and left. 2 weeks later, she called me and said, I think I made a mistake. I looked too long. Then she hung up. That was the last time I heard her voice. When I went back to her apartment to check in, the landlord told me she left the place empty, mirror covered, walls scratched with spirals, clocks all unplugged. They said she left in the middle of the night. No one's seen her since. Sometimes when I'm brushing my teeth, I swear the mirror blinks a little late, just by a second. I never stand in front of it for too long anymore, just in case it's still learning. In 2020, just after lockdowns began, I was staying with my older cousin, May, in a quiet coastal town in New Hampshire. I'd been struggling with anxiety and school burnout, and May, being a calm, self-sufficient loner with a big old house, offered me a place to reset. Her home was huge and quiet, a colonial-style thing with thin walls and tall, creaky doors. There were too many windows. You could hear the sea at night, especially when it rained. It was late one evening, around 11:30 p.m., when I first felt it. I was brushing my teeth in the upstairs bathroom when I suddenly froze. My whole body locked up. I stared at my reflection and had this overwhelming sense that I had done this before. Not just brushing my teeth. The exact lighting, the sound of the faucet dripping, even the faint clicking of the ceiling fan. Then I remembered what would happen next. Someone would knock at the front door, twice. May would walk downstairs, pause, and ask, "Do you know someone named Jared?" Then, silence. I stood there, trembling. 5 seconds later, knock, knock. I heard May's footsteps creak on the stairs, then her voice. "Do you know someone named Jared?" I nearly dropped my toothbrush. I ran to the landing. May was standing at the door, slightly open, looking out. I asked who it was. She looked confused and said, "There's no one there," but the door had been knocked on. We both heard it. She shut the door and locked it. We didn't sleep much that night. The next day, I asked May if she knew anyone named Jared. She said no, but she remembered someone with that name going missing in our school when she was in 6th grade. A transfer student, quiet kid, vanished one winter. I tried to shake it off until the next night, when it happened again. Same moment, same knock, same question. Only this time, when May opened the door, she looked frozen. I ran downstairs. There was a man standing just beyond the porch light, barely visible. He was tall, pale, dressed in a thin hoodie in November. His eyes looked distant, not angry, not sad, just blank. May asked, "Can I help you?" He said nothing, just stood there. Then he whispered, "You've already let me in." And he walked off into the trees. We filed a report. Police searched the woods. No footprints, no trace. Cameras showed nothing. They chalked it up to a prank or our imagination. But May and I both felt it, that echo of time, like it had already happened once, or more. After that, weird things kept showing up in the house. Small shifts, books out of place, the clock in the guest room ticking backwards, my phone alarm going off a minute before I set it. Eventually left after one final night where I woke up to see someone standing at the top of the stairs. I thought it was May, but when I called out, she replied from her room, "Hi, me." We turned on every light in the house, searched every floor, nothing. I haven't been back since. May sold the house the following year, but she called me recently. She says sometimes she still hears the knock.